internet, my name is Lave and I watched Long Shot, which is directed by Jonathan Levine, who's the director behind films like Snatched and 50-50, which also starred Seth Rogen, who also stars in this as Fred Flasky, a recently unemployed journalist who bumps into his former babysitter and childhood crush, Charlotte, who is now the Secretary of State and is preparing to make a run for the presidency. After their brief encounter, she decides to hire him as her speechwriter, and despite being from two different worlds, sparks begin to fly. So this film is your standard fish out of water rom-com that's very much in the vein of Notting Hill, with this guy who's your everyday blue-collar working journalist who gets dropped into her world of elitist, high-flying politics and government shenanigans, but the central joke of Seth Rogen and Charlize Theron not being your typical kind of Hollywood couple works surprisingly well. They've got really good on-screen chemistry. It's still a Seth Rogen film though, bordering on slapstick at times, with plenty of dick, drugs and masturbation jokes to keep the lads happy, but at the same time it is striving to be politically correct, with a lot to say on racism, feminism and climate change. It's very much on trend in that sense, but it's also got one foot still in the past, with plenty of jokes from like the 90s in there, this being a Seth Rogen film. And I also want to say that it's got a meta quality to it. For example, Seth Rogen's character is writing one of her speeches at one moment in the film, and he says, "Oh, this is easy, all you have to do is chuck in a load of pop culture references." And this film is full of pop culture references from Boys to Men and Game of Thrones. Now, Seth Rogen isn't credited as one of the writers on this film, but he was on a talk show recently with Charlize Theron where he said that they have been producing this for a long time. So when the film has lines in it that says, "Oh, you're such a funny writer, you connect with everyone, you're so great," and with Charlize Theron's character being like literally perfect, she's smart and sophisticated, at times it did feel like the film was really stroking their egos. In that sense, the film does feel a bit preachy, and when I really thought about it, it is a bit hypocritical. For example, Seth Rogen's character is dead against giant corporations taking over everything, but then at the same time, he loves watching Marvel movies, which gets referenced a hell of a lot. Charlize Theron's character is passionate about saving the environment, but her character has the biggest carbon footprint of all the characters in the film. But to be fair to the film, it does point that one out, and I did actually quite like the end message of the film of not compromising who you are to be or get to where you want to be. So yeah, it's all right. Other than that, there are some scene-stealing performances and cameos from the likes of Bob Odenkirk as a TV star turned president, now wannabe movie star. Alexander Skarsgård turns up as the Prime Minister of Canada, and I liked O'Shea Jackson Jr. as Fred's Republican best mate Lance. Come to think of it, all of the male characters in this, aside from O'Shea Jackson Jr.'s character and Seth Rogen's character, are all either stupid or bigots or power-hungry media conglomerate giants, one being played by Andy Serkis of all people, who turns up in loads of like prosthetics. He's kind of a mix between Gollum and Julian Assange, and it was really weird actually. I think he's been heavily made up to not look like Andy Serkis, but as soon as he did, I was like, that's Andy Serkis. I was like, oh, I wish they'd mocapped that performance actually. So that's my thoughts on Long Shot, and pause the video if you want to take a closer look at my enjoyment tracker now. I thought this film was okay. I think it's a pretty good date movie. I managed to see this at a preview screening, and surprisingly there was hardly anyone in there, which may have impacted the way I felt about it, because it was really quiet in there. And I think when you go to a comedy, it's better to see it in a huge crowd where everyone's laughing, you can feed off that energy. So I didn't have that in this, so maybe that's why I thought it was all right. But still, I think even if it had been a full packed cinema, I don't think I'd be walking out there going, yeah, I'm going to be buying that on Blu-ray. So thanks very much for watching this review. I am working on an Avengers Endgame spoiler talk video, but it's turning into this massive monster. So I'm going to try and release that as soon as possible. But in the meantime, thanks very much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. If you can, give it a like, and don't forget to share the Lave.
Subscribe.